So there are times where you'll see a comment in the video and you'll go, hey, I could talk about that. I don't have any particular interest in the Carolina Hurricanes moving, and there was a lot of talk about, oh, the Hurricanes should move, Hurricanes should move. But the funny part is, I really was upset when they left Hartford. And there were a lot of people that were upset when they left Hartford. Um, there were ticket drives, and ownership was making it harder for fans to support the team, and we'll get into that because if you look at what's going on with this team right now, with the fan base, and with what they're doing right now, it's like they finally got rid of somebody who was holding them back for decades. This is from the last season of the Hartford Whalers. This is Jocelyn Thibault. I've actually got two copies of this magazine now. I've got the yearbook with Jocelyn Thibault with the Canadiens and one with Patrick Waugh with Colorado. I think that's kind of fun since they were traded for each other that very season. All right, lame duck team tries for playoff appearance. Yeah, go ahead, try to be a Flyers or Whalers fan. Plop down in a seat at Civic Center, wave that Burke is God sign after each of the goaltender's 46 saves, and ponder the fate of the home team. They're staying, but they're going. Owner Peter Karmanos says he'll abide by his lease and remain in Hartford for 2 more years, but he sure is hot about the circumstances. A season ticket drive netted about 8,500 customers, which is pretty sound support for a team that needs a subscription to the hockey news to get a taste of the playoffs. I like that. They go ahead and mention their own name right away. Kind of classy. However, Karmanos and the state, which runs the arena, couldn't agree on how to open the building's revenue streams to the team. If the two sides remain at loggerheads, it's root for the lame duck. The Star's going, or is he staying? Trade rumors surrounding Brendan Shanahan were persistent, but none of them had been generated by the Whalers front office. On the ice, the Whalers are very bad, and they're very good. Which will it be this year? The Whalers had a 15-10-1 record against Western Conference teams, only 2 Eastern teams. The Flyers and the Rangers fared better against the West. Against the East, the Whalers were 19-29-8. Only the Ottawa Senators and the New York Islanders were worse. What's going on here? As you can see, it's anybody's guess. They finished 34th, 39-9, 19th overall, missed the playoffs. And an interesting thing happened in that last season in Hartford. So here's their attendance. 87-88, they're at 14,574. Then it's 13,871, 13,705, 12,404. This is a really bad auction going the wrong way. 10,896, 10,144, then 10,407, 11,835, 11,983. Their last year in Hartford, 13,680. Their highest total since 87-88. So what happened? Well, see, they were negotiating over a building. Let me know if this sounds familiar to you. He pledged to keep the Whalers in the city. 2 years after he bought the team, he was frustrated with lackluster attendance, right about here. And little corporate support. He announced that if the Whalers were unable to sell at least 11,000 season tickets for the 96-97 season, this one here, he would likely move the team. Furthermore, ownership only made season tickets available in full season packages, eliminating popular 6, 9, 10, and 20 game mini plans, in a strategy largely designed to spur purchases from corporations and wealthier individuals. Isn't it great when an owner does that? When the owner says to you, listen, I know you just want to go to 6 games this year, and I know that's all you can afford, but I really don't want your money. I really want corporate money. I want all kinds of corporate money. And you know what? This worked. This worked. They actually sold a ton more tickets than they had the year before. Their attendance was much higher than was the year before, even though they were becoming very, very, very unfriendly to their fan base. So they're negotiating. Early 1997, Connecticut Governor John G. Rowland stated he did not want to spend Connecticut taxpayer dollars to fund a new arena in Hartford. Despite this negotiation between the Whalers and Rowland to build a $147.5 million arena seemed to be going well. After a near-complete agreement, talks fell apart at the last minute when Karmanos wanted an additional $45 million to cover losses during the 3 years the new arena was to be built. The Whalers ultimately announced they'd be leaving Hartford after the 96-97 season. This marks one of the few times that a team announced it would leave its current city without having already announced an agreement with a new one. Karmanos had discussed relocating the Whalers to Norfolk, Virginia, which would have been the first major sports team for that market, as the Hampton Roads Rhinos. But the failures the failure of a season ticket drive in Norfolk, coupled with a lack of an adequate arena, led to those plans being cancelled. Carmano stated that Roland had no intention of making a serious offer to keep the Whalers in Connecticut, since Roland harbored hopes to bring a National Football League franchise to the state. Roland went on to negotiate a tentative deal that would bring the New England Patriots to Connecticut, but those talks also fell apart after the state and the Patriots ownership failed to reach an agreement on a new stadium. Isn't that amazing? And it sucks for fans in Hartford because this guy Carmanos, remember him? Yeah. He moves them to Carolina. The first season they have 9,106 fans on average in the stands. That's a drop of 4,500 fans per game. It dropped the next season to 8,100. Then it goes up to 12,004, 13,003, 15,005, 15,006, 12,330, 15,596, 17,386, 16,633. But fast forward, Carmanos is still the owner. So his ability to sell tickets and to make a fan base really care about their team, it's kind of at loggerheads. It's almost like you have to care about teams that he was running despite the ownership. Sort of like Harold Ballard in Toronto. Yeah, we love the Maple Leafs, but Ballard is unfortunately in charge of it, and that's a problem. This year, the Carolina Hurricanes are sitting at 12,494, which is good on average, right? It's still less than Hartford was drawing. So when people talk to me and they say, well, wait, why did the Hartford Whalers leave? The Hartford Whalers left because this guy was the owner, and he couldn't figure out how to make it work. And when the state sat down to negotiate with him, at the very last second, he said, you know what? I also want you guys to pay for the money I'm going to lose until the building's put up. And the state went, you know what? Forget it. And then he went out and said, they're negotiating in bad faith. We've almost got a deal done. At the last second, I come back and say, hey, throw in an extra $45 million. You're going to tell me, there's the door, use it, out you go. And rightfully so. Now that Carmanos has sold the team, these numbers are going to start going up again. Not because of anything that he did, but because he sold it to Tom Dundon, who seems to know what he's doing. As an owner, he's already dropped ticket prices. And I'm floored by the fact that when you're not selling tickets, you're going to take away a venue that people like. You have a revenue stream that you're taking away to try to make more money. And it's a revenue stream that people can afford. The 6, 9, 10, 20 game packs. Next season for the Vancouver Canucks, I'm likely going to get probably a 9 or a 10 game pack. I'm going to look for something that's going to work with a decent schedule and something where it's regular games and maybe. And then the last thing I'm going to look at is who the opponents are. I'm just going to look at when the games are and how much the ticket prices are. I can't afford a full season. And most people couldn't back then either. So the fact that the city of Hartford came up and said, you know what, we're going to have this ticket drive, and that their attendance went up while they were that lame duck team, while they were terrible. The Hartford Whalers did not have a good history. That's part of the reason why these numbers are so bad. The Whalers were a pretty bad team for a large stretch of this. They were one of the worst franchises in hockey. And then the owner's like, well, you're not supporting the worst franchise in hockey, so we're going to move. And he moves it, and Carolina gets it and like, what is this? Because since he had no plan when he planned to leave Hartford, other than I'm not going to stay in Hartford, you can't have a big ticket drive in Carolina where you're going. You can't have, since it's a non-traditional hockey market, you can't have this outreach in the community to teach them about hockey and teach them what's coming in and about the players that are coming in. You're just going in cold, which is why you end up with 9,100 people. And you're waiting on a new arena. And, really, I think Carmanos being out as the leader in Carolina is fantastic. And I think the way that the NHL should celebrate it, find a way to bring Hartford back into the picture. And I know people are going to say, well, they still don't have a great NHL arena. Well, they were drawing 14,000 fans a game in '87. So, yeah, I'm sure Connecticut might have its issues and there might be some trouble with it, but if we're going to talk about Quebec, and if we're going to talk about other markets and who can support hockey, this one supports hockey. The Whalers support hockey. This is why when Carolina talks about, hey, we're going to wear Whalers jerseys, all I can think is, why don't we just bring back the Whalers? We all agree they're great jerseys. We all agree that the team and the city got screwed over by ownership, and that um, there's a deal there to be had. I would think for an arena if the NHL looked into it. To my knowledge, the NHL hasn't given serious thought to putting a team in Hartford, and it's kind of too bad because we're watching certain markets struggle, and it would be a great story if somehow we brought the Whalers back in and we don't need to move Carolina to do it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and hey, that's why the Hartford Whalers moved. And it's a shame because now all we remember them as is kind of a lame team with a great logo. And oh, it's that team that Gordie Howe played on with his sons in the WHA and then in his last year in the NHL. And that's pretty much what we remember. Oh, and Ron Francis was pretty good too for them. And then got traded to Pittsburgh for not a lot. But that's not why they left either. Even if Ron Francis had stayed here the whole time, it just wouldn't have worked. But thank you for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.